Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff and brand introduction review on the Diptyque Genevrier Juniper candle. But first, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com, and please do give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice. But for now, let's dig into the wonderful world of Diptyque. Now, I think a lot of folks are familiar with Diptyque. It is one of the, I would say, most popular or at least well-known luxury fragrance, luxury candle brands in the market. And I purchased this and one other candle. There's the Feu de Bois, the firewood, so a smoky, fiery sort of fireplace hearth candle. Honestly, probably about 2 years ago at this point, and I just haven't gotten around to reviewing them. And I wanted to dive into some other brands beyond the ones I've typically reviewed, such as Diptyque. And this candle is, I'd say, 3/4 of the way burned, so it is truly a post-burn review. But I wanted to talk a little bit about true luxury candles, truly expensive luxury candles like Diptyque. I want to do a little brand overview, talk to you about the history of the brand from the research that I've done, talk about the fragrance. What is juniper? We're going to actually go into literally juniper berries here, as I like to do my educational aspect to these reviews where we dig into all the different fragrance notes and understand what is juniper, what is it used for, what does it smell like, what can I expect in a juniper-based fragrance. Then we're going to talk about the actual candle, the aesthetic, the brand story of the fragrance, the performance, what I think of the scent, and if I think it is worth the retail price, which is most of the time now $74 for a 6.5 ounce candle. So this is on the high end of candle prices. Many other brands can be more $30 to $50. This one, 6.5 ounces, $74 is quite expensive. So I wanted to learn a little bit about Diptyque. I think, certainly the name, the branding, this label here is pretty iconic at this point when it comes to fine fragrance, especially fine home fragrance. But I wanted to do a little bit of research to understand, what is the brand? Where did it start? Diptyque is a prestigious French fragrance brand that started in 1961 and became popular in 1963 when they launched their first line of candles. It was originally a small shop in Paris that was started by 3 friends, and they became known for their sophisticated and complex fragrances, earning a loyal following known for their evocative scents and high quality. The brand says they are inspired by nature, travel, and graphic arts. In 1968, they expanded into perfumes, fine fragrance, and they now also have skincare and home decor. Those signature oval labels and minimalistic packaging are fairly iconic and are said to represent timeless luxury. And the idea behind their fragrances is they say that they seek to preserve the natural memory of nature's scents. This is their classic candle, simple, minimalistic white box here. Open this up, as it says Diptyque Paris there. Straightforward, not luxurious, minimalistic, clean, fine. We call it modern and minimalistic. You just have a simple pack in there, a little sheet that details the candle, and this is the candle. It is a plain glass jar. This is their 6.5 ounce single wick classic candle. Of course, it is recyclable or reusable if you wish to use the vessel for something else upon completing the candle. They have a proprietary wax blend. They don't claim or share exactly what it is. Most research I've done says that it is likely, and based on my experience, likely primarily paraffin-based. They say the finest of raw materials. That's marketing. What does that mean? Raw materials? Okay, are they synthetic? Are they healthy? Are they natural? What are they? Doesn't tell you much. There's very good branding in here to make it sound very elevated, which it may be, but if you don't share and have transparency, how will we really know that? My best guess is paraffin, but also there must be some vegetable or soy in there simply because of, frankly, the kind of dirty burn that this had as far as going down the side of the jar. We will talk more about performance in a bit, but you can see just from here, there is a fair amount of soot, which leans probably more paraffin, and this sort of drag on the glass of residue left behind of wax leans more likely soy. So my best guess would be likely a paraffin soy blend. All of their candles are made in France, and the 6.5 ounce does have a burn time of about 50 hours. The scent story from the brand is a fragrance of surprising complexity, spicy and smoky, irresistibly lively but also aromatic, with a fruity bitterness borrowed from citrus peel. This scented candle fully and faithfully reproduces the appeal of the juniper berries that lend their aroma to countless specialties, including gin. Let's first talk about what are juniper berries. What is juniper? Juniper berries are small aromatic fruit or berries from the juniper tree, often used in culinary and fragrance applications. In perfumery, juniper berries are prized for their fresh, crisp, and slightly spicy fragrance, which evokes a clean, invigorating feel with hints of pine and resinous woods. Juniper berries are often used to add a resinous green note to compositions, bringing a natural, outdoorsy sharpness to the scent, carrying fruity, bitter, and tart accords. Comparing juniper berries to, say, patchouli and cardamom, which all can contribute a woody aspect to a fragrance, juniper brings the fresh green woodiness, cardamom brings a warmer spiciness, and patchouli brings a deep, earthy tone. I think most folks are familiar with juniper when they think of gin. So there are many types of gin. It's really a neutral alcohol with botanicals and things added to it to make traditional gin. The London dry gin style is the one that is heavily juniper based, and it has sort of that piney or Christmas tree fragrance that you tend to either love or hate. Of course, there are many styles of gin that are more botanical that can have lavender, coriander, sage, rosemary, orange peel, grapefruit, tea leaves, rosewater, cucumber. Anything you can imagine can be in gin, and I love a nice gin and a variety of gins. Hendrick's, of course, is a very nice non-juniper heavy gin if you want to try something that is not your traditional Beefeater, Tanqueray, London dry style gin. But juniper berries are the primary component of that fragrance and that flavor. Getting into what they actually smell like, well, on their own, dried for use in culinary purposes, there's not a whole lot of scent unless you crush them. And research showed that these also sometimes were used to balance the flavor of wild game, which is interesting because when I smell these, they actually smell a bit savory and gamey. And now I crushed a few of them on this plate just so I could really get the scent of them. And there is that spicy, not really a fresh pine tree, but like almost a barnyard savoriness to them. Not quite camphoraceous, but resinous. An earthy, slightly dank resin. I'm curious what they would compare fresh versus dried, because think of a prune versus a plum. A world of difference between a dry or fresh berry in this case. When they're dried for purposes like using it as a spice or an ingredient in cooking, I think it does have a bit of that savory resinous aspect to it, versus when we think of it in fine fragrance, it's going to be a bit more of that pine-like, still woody, resinous, but a bit of a fresher note. What do I think of the fragrance itself? It really is sort of, think of a juniper forest. This is an outdoor candle. It doesn't have the whoosh of the balsams that you may be familiar with when you think of a conifer or pine or evergreen forest, but it very much is fresh outdoors, but a little bit darker, a little bit heavier. They mentioned smoky, a little bit of a smoked wood, but by no means your traditional burning ember smoked wood. More so that there's just an earthiness, the way that, tobacco leaf has an earthiness to it. There's an earthiness to this that could come across as smoky, but not quite burning. Perhaps some pine and cedar. Again, we know that juniper often smells like pine in many applications, certainly in gin. So there is sort of I want to call it almost let's call it furniture. So you think of a stained natural pine desk or some piece of furniture like that, maybe cedar wood, where it smells fresh but resinous. That's sort of what you get with this. It's not the trees, the leaves, or sap or something sweet. It's a bit more that heavy resin that acts as a base. Think of a slightly cool day in the forest, a lot of that fresh wood fragrance, kind of a sharp green, not quite herbal, but borderline herbal from the juniper, balanced with the resinous pine wood, gives you that true sense of nature, calming, somewhat tranquil. I think perhaps a love or hate fragrance. It is unique in the sense that it is not a traditional spicy, woody, herbal, woody, warm, rich wood fragrance. And I don't know what else is in here because they don't list the notes. So I'm just kind of trying to dig into the vibe of it. Of course, I say juniper and a bit of a citrus peel. I wouldn't call out citrus in this. I'm assuming it probably is something like a bitter orange. Not bright, zippy, zesty, peppy at all. But there's a almost dried, not quite powder to this. But as much as I say the forest and pine and trees, one could almost take all that wood and throw it into sort of an old library or smoking room where you have a lot of furniture, maybe even a church. The resins that come from different incense or things that may be burning, and just old world in general is what I get from this. So it's an interesting balance where it kind of goes to show you the marketing. Marketing really plays into saying if something is outdoors, fresh, and invigorating, or if it is deep, seductive, and indoorsy. Why not both? It's interesting. It's unique. Would I purchase it again based on the fragrance? Probably not. I do believe it's probably the most pure juniper fragrance I have smelled before. And it is intriguing. It is interesting. Though this is not single note, it really is juniper forward. That is what it is meant to express. It's not simply inspired by. It is juniper. And so you get what you want. If you want a straightforward, savory, green, resinous juniper berry fragrance. And so I'm glad I tried it, but I don't really crave it, which is why, frankly, it's taken me 2 years to burn this far down in a 6.5 ounce candle. As far as the performance, it does pull out on its own. It does not typically require babying with foil like most single wick luxury candles do, though I believe maybe in the beginning I may have a bit just when we were at the wider opening of the vessel. But as you can see, it does have a bit of a dirty burn and wisps of soot. And you get the soot, which means it may not be appropriately wicked when it comes to the right balance of combustion versus faulty combustion, which creates that soot in the air versus a true burning off of the oils and wax. And it is frankly not good looking because when it comes to a clear glass vessel, having this drag of wax residue doesn't look good. So soot plus wax residue means it is not pretty looking. Does a candle have to be? Not necessarily. I'm here for the fragrance, for the scent, but for a lot of folks who want to put this out and have, the iconic Diptyque in their home, it's not appealing visually. The wick does get fairly long. You can kind of see that this will require a trim before I relight it. And the good thing is the strength, throw, and projection is fairly healthy. When I have this sitting here on the table, sometimes I do get a whiff of it as well, even when it is not lit. And because there is a fair amount, I'm assuming, of oil in here, and likely that paraffin-focused wax blend, you're going to get a healthy strength, throw, and projection up in the air as you are getting a strong burn on this candle. I assume because different oils, different wicks, different formulations are created for different fragrances, it may be different when you get into different scents. This is one of 2 that I've burned from Diptyque, so your mileage may vary on that. Overall, what do I think? I would say I haven't fully made my decision on Diptyque. Is it a must-have? No. Is it interesting? Is it a good experience? It's middle of the road for me. I think that if there are other fragrances of theirs, which I've smelled over the years quickly here and there in boutiques and in shops, but I haven't really dug my nose into or burned anything besides the juniper candle and their feu de bois. I would say if there are fragrances that you smell them and you adore them and they're so incredible, then it would be worth it. Because we're creating the scent memory. It's either going to evoke a mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time for you, and that makes it worth it because it burns well enough, it projects well enough, and so it really comes down to, perhaps more so even than other brands, just do you love the fragrance of the individual candle? Then it may be worth it. If not, hard to say. And for me, I don't know that their blends are truly breaking the mold. I'm saying that, I know that there are lovers out there of a few different fragrances of theirs that are really their iconic fragrances. This maybe is not one of their iconic, though I think it is a bestseller. So don't take my word on that. Smell them yourself, see what you think. But for me, they're not something where I'm super excited to see, what's coming next and what can I get from them when I think of Boy Smells or Lofco or Harlem Candle Company or Nest. These other brands that are really coming out with complex blends and beautiful vessels that I really enjoy. Again, this is a big player in the fine fragrance and home fragrance world, so certainly there is a place for it. And I will continue to sniff them when I can and give them a shot, but at $74, it is a rare treat for sure. I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree, disagree on my review of Diptyque overall or this specific candle? What candles do you love from them? What fragrances do I need to get my nose on because it'll convert me and make me become obsessed with them and be a go-to that I must have at all times? I'd love to hear your thoughts or any questions you may have. And until next time, take care.